This is a magic lantern story about a lively snowball. The magic lantern was a way of telling stories over 150 years ago, and this story is over 100 years old. Our story takes place way back in Victorian England at Christmas time, and it was good old-fashioned Christmas weather, with the snow lying very deep upon the ground. It was a great time for kids to go out and play, and Tom and Jackie, two frolicsome little boys, were home for the holidays. They started making a slide down the public road, though an old gentleman stopped to admonish them on the work they were doing.
"You boys better be careful. You're making this road really slippery, and someone might slip and fall."
The ground was indeed very slippery, and as the man leaned on his cane, he found it slide away from under him. He fell backwards upon the ground, very much to the amusement of Tom and Jackie. He started to slide down the hill and started gathering snow as he went. He quickly started to assume the shape of a gigantic snowball. Going more and more rapidly down the hill, he came across a policeman who was standing in the path. The snowball collided into the policeman as there was nothing either of them could do. Continuing his mad career, he shortly came across a countryman who was driving a pig to market. The man himself managed to scramble out of the way just in time, but the unfortunate pig received the full force of the ball and was soon head over heels in the snow. A little further along, there was an old lady with a stall of delicious hot chestnuts. The snowball toppled over and sent the pan flying in the air. Chestnuts went in all directions, but the snowball itself was stopped by the weight of the iron stove. While the old lady stood there in amazement, recovering from her fright, the heat of the stove started to melt the snow, and to the old lady's surprise, she saw a human leg and a foot emerge from the snowball. While standing there and wondering what else is going to happen, an arm and a hand appeared from the other side of the snowball. By this time, Tom and Jackie arrived on the scene and with a couple of shovels began to shovel the snow away. The old gentleman soon appeared fully in view. Now the policeman came trotting along, and the old lady and the policeman began arguing with the gentleman about the damage he had done. They wanted to know what satisfaction he intended to give them. The policeman was considerably upset, and the old lady had lost all of her chestnuts. However, a little money soon put a different complexion upon the affair, and the policeman and the old lady made themselves quite agreeable. It's needless to say that Tom and Jackie did not receive any compensation for their part in the affair, but the old gentleman, who had been very hard upon them, apologized.
"I'm sorry, boys, for giving you such a hard time."
With his hat battered and his clothes terribly sodden with snow, he returned home much to the amazement of his wife, who opened the door to see him, but couldn't imagine it was him, for what had happened to her usually respectable and neatly attired husband. Of course, he had quite the story to tell. And so things returned to normal in the sleepy little village. Folks returned home, and they all had quite the story to tell that night. And they all got a good night's rest as they looked forward to a magical Christmas. Well, I hope you enjoyed this magic lantern story about the lively snowball, and I hope you have a very, very good night.